The wealth gap between the rich and the poor in advanced economies has jumped to its biggest chasm in 3 decades. Canada is no exception. Across the country, the wage gap between the top and bottom income earners is ever widening. According to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, our tax policies are largely to blame. Ann Golden is President and CEO of the Conference Board of Canada. Erin Weir is an economist with United Steelworkers. Great to have you both here.
Good to be here.
This is not a new story. In fact, the Conference Board did a study not that long ago that found the same thing. And at that point, we talked about the fact that perhaps the key thing wasn't the gap between the very richest and the very poorest, but how that big mass in the middle is doing. And by that measure, we actually see some signs of worry as well. I want you both to address, and I'm going to ask you to start, Erin, with this notion that it's about redistribution, that we're doing a bad job or a poorer job than we used to of getting the money from the richest to the poorest. Does that do anything about that big mass in the middle?
Well, I think it does, because it's not just this big mass in the middle. It's kind of the concentration of income and wealth has really been at the very high end. So it's a distinction between the top 1% and the other 99%.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
To use a catchy phrase.
Yeah, and indeed, to use a kind of timely turn of phrase. So, you know, if you're able to kind of collect a bigger share of taxes from that top 1% and spend it on public services that benefit everyone, then that is important, not just to the very poor, but also to what you might call the middle class.
And would you agree with that it's about the redistribution?
It's not just about wealth redistribution, although that is a big part of it. Because of tax changes and particularly benefits changes, we used to reduce or modify or moderate that growth in inequality by about 70% through tax and benefits policies. We now do it to the tune of about 40%. And it is affecting everyone. And the disappearing middle class we can see in our cities.
Yeah.
And if I could just build on that briefly, I mean, the OECD report did actually show that Canada has a less redistributive tax and transfer system than other OECD countries. Yes. So it's not just that we've fallen behind over time, we're also have fallen behind relative to other advanced economies.
So I think we're not really getting to the core of the problem, though, Erin. I'd like to blame some of the, I'd like to put some of the blame of our situation at your feet as a unionist, and I'll tell you why. Haven't you, over a long period of time, bred what I would call a band of mediocrity into earnings power? When you negotiate for a collective and you tell them what they're going to make, there's no incentive for them to work any harder to become wealthier. In fact, if you give them 30 sick days off, they'll take every 31 of those sick days. I really don't like the way this has worked out. And regarding Ann's comment of the harsh edge of capitalism, I want to tune that edge into a knife blade to give incentives for people to risk capital in our country and create many more jobs. We've got to change the economics of what we're doing. Let's deal with unionism, Erin, first. When do we get rid of it and set free those people so they can earn more money?
Well, I'm glad you've brought up unionism, Kevin, because I think unions are actually a big part of the solution to this problem of inequality. Unions are an institution that allow, the bottom 99% to get a fair share of the wealth that they produce. And the OECD report today actually identifies the decline of collective bargaining as one of the causes of this huge increase in inequality, which is very destabilizing for the capitalism that you so love. Higher inequality means a lot of social problems, a lot of health problems, more crime. So I would submit the economy actually functions better when it's more egalitarian.